I think that women are getting tricked. I think that's the thing. The women are. And I believe that the women who have been convinced that, sex is liberating and all that, sex is emotional. And I believe that every relationship affects you deeply in your intersoul, and people are being lied to. And so I think it's becoming a very depressed society. Although I believe that men that are listening to this are the ones that are following in the player category are like, yeah, that's me. I'm getting all the chicks. And then the other guys are really sad. And
they're getting, and so there was data that came out from dating apps that found it's something like the bell curve for women is 20% of men. They asked women, like, rate these men on their attractiveness. And women said basically 80% of men were below average and only rated the highest attractive guys as like, it's something like that. I forgot how the data worked. The bell curve for men on whether or not they rated a woman as attractive was a standard bell curve. So it's like, these women aren't attractive, average is pretty good, and then, wow, these women are super attractive. Women were like, all these guys are ugly except these guys. So
our standards are too high.
They're very high, but women should have high standards.
And they should be, yeah.
But the issue then is, you combine that with modern sexual liberation feminism, and women are being told, you don't have to be in a relationship, you don't have to expect anything from the guy, and the guys are like, wow, it's free? I'll take it. And so the top tier guys who are physically fit, attractive, and well off are going to go on a date. They're going to hook up with the woman and then be like, we'll do this again. And then he immediately goes in the app and says, next. Young men are getting dejected. So my point with all this was, they then go to those young men and say, meet your new girlfriend, put your headset on. And this is putting the cow in the VR headset to make it think it's in a lush green field. There's an app, I think it was Replica. Was that? Where guys are dating these AI text bots because they're lonely. And then the creator of it took away the dating function because they were like, okay, this is getting a little weird. And users revolted. They were like, no, my girlfriend. So they're like, okay, we're going to give it back to you. But your grandfather didn't. We're not going to let anyone else do this because it's getting weird. That's where we're going.
So it's like the other option's nothing. So I'll have an AI girlfriend.
And that's only on your phone. Like, that is that is not immersive. That is not an experience. Like, that's not plugging your head in and getting, dopamine and the response drugs pumped directly into your brain.
Dude, this is what
it's getting weird,
this is like the
man.
AI version of what's that movie, Lars and the Real Girl?
Yeah, I saw the chat getting all worked up. This is not an endorsement of me saying that this is something I like. I'm saying this is the reality that we need to prepare for.
Now, hold
because
on.
these technologies are coming whether we like it or not. Because even if the U.S. doesn't do it, China's gonna.
So they're going to get people to join the Matrix, because you're going to get a lot of dejected young men who can't get relationships and who are lonely. But there's another way they're going to get people. They're going to get people who have bad breakups and who are depressed and desperately in love with the person who left them, or somebody whose loved one dies. Well, the AI has
like WandaVision, you recreate them?
Yep. Check this out. They've already done this. They've taken someone's Facebook profile, everything they've ever written, and turned it into a chatbot. So you can talk to your dead dad and be like, hey, Dad, remember when we did this? Yeah, it was a great evening on February 17th. I remember that day like it was. Yeah, you were out. They know the speech patterns and they know all the memories codified.
That's weird. That's twisted.
Your dad dies. You put on the VR and say, user profile John Smith, Chicago, Illinois, age 73, deceased this date, generate. And then boom, you're in Chicago, hanging out with your dad, and he's like, it's good to see you again. And you, crying, finally get to talk to your dad again, or your mom, or your husband, or your wife, or your kids.
But they're not them.
No, but people are not.
You need that.
But people who are grieving, and they're going to say, plug me in.
Oh, I can see that could happen, but that's so dangerous. What a terrible path to go down.
Not dangerous. Not dangerous for the people who want to control the systems and control what people do. It's the perfect thing for them.
But how do you function as a society? So who's making? I mean, you still have to eat. You still have to have
robots.
You're going to have robots do it. I mean, that is so far off.
Well, they're also telling people to abort their kids. And already a lot of food production is automated. We have big machines doing most of the work.
Dude, you ever hear the phrase fully automated luxury communism? That's exactly what people are looking for. So not only is what we're talking about definitely on the horizon, There are people that are excited for it to arrive and want to do everything they can to expedite its arrival. Fully automated luxury communism. There are people that don't want to do anything other than be plugged into the matrix and be and be pumped full of the feel-good drugs, because existence itself leads to suffering.
So
because that's the truth.
This is where, I mean, we talk about having a mental health crisis in the country or across the globe. Is this what happens then? The next step is to make everybody feel better by having a fake world?
Well, people are going to choose it because it feels good, right? So are you familiar with Fermi's paradox? This is it's an idea that represents, if the universe is so big and life exists, why have we not encountered alien life? That's the question. And there's a bunch of potential solutions. Some are that any sufficiently advanced civilization will blow itself up, like we've developed nuclear weapons and other crazy things. I happen to think that one of the strongest contenders as to why we have not met aliens, well, for one, maybe there aren't any, I don't know, but it could be that any humans have needs and desires. We need those things to function. We have emotions. Those things help us survive. We get scared. We feel strong connections. And so if you do a good thing and accomplish a goal, it feels good. That's why video games are so addictive. I think the thing is, most life, if it does exist, is going to chase after whatever it is that gives it a reward. So what are we going to do? We're going to make video games. We are going to make video games that give us the reward. Now, there's drugs you can take that give you rewards. Opium, right? Heroin or whatever, opiates. They trigger that good euphoric feeling in your brain, and people melt away in it and then die. What we're going to make is, when you get a dopamine hit from accomplishing something, when you feel strongly connected to a loved one, we are going to simulate that so you feel good all the time. And it is the same thing as any drug. Mm-hmm. And then instead of traveling the stars and colonizing new worlds, we're all going to lay down in the pod, eat the bugs, put on the headset, and be happy. Now, y'all might be saying, like, that wouldn't make me happy. Sure, but your kids will. Your kids are going to grow up in this world with this available to them. And you're going to say, I don't want my kid using Neuralink. But then when they're in school, they're going to be like, well, how are they supposed to learn? Our whole curriculum is through Neuralink. You weirdo homeschoolers. And there'll be holdouts. There will be. And they'll raise their kids the right way. But how many conservative parents right now, knowing everything going on, are still putting their kids in public schools saying, well, what am I supposed to do? I have to work. I can't get my kid out of school. Yes. In 20 years, you'll say the exact same thing. Well, what am I supposed to do? I'm at work. I disagree with what they're doing, but my kid uses Neuralink. While your kid's in the Neuralink, they're generating that addiction, that connection, and then they're going to be in their 20s, and they're going to be like, no time for you, Dad. Plug me in. And they're going to become the Dragon Warrior or a carrot or something. Who knows?
I mean, it's essentially what we watch with Avatar.
Well, worse than that. I mean, Avatar, at the very least, you were still in the real world,
Well, yes, to an extent. But I mean, you're still in a body that's not yours. But it's still just your mind in that world.
But some of these virtual universes, people might just be a carrot. Like, the people will identify as crazy things. Someone might be like, I'm a rabbit-kin. Have you ever heard of otherkin? Basically, trans mythical species. So it's people who think they're trans mythical species. They're a human. They're like an elf mage born in a human body, or they're a dragon born. No joke.
It's like so bizarre.
So they're going to be in the metaverse, and they're going to be like, only in this reality am I my true self, the Dragon King Volsanok, flying around the mystic 8 kingdoms, fighting the demons from the nether realm. And you're going to be like, this is not real life. But they're going to think to themselves, do I want to work at McDonald's or be the Dragon Emperor of the 8 realms? Dragon Emperor, dude. And they're going to plug in. They're already doing it. People already do this in video games. There are people who you ask them, like, what have you done with your life? And they'll say, I'm the top 10 PvP, World of Warcraft, whatever. And it's like, that's really great. I mean, but if you're in esports, you might make money doing that. No joke.
Right.
But some people dedicate their lives to just being a cog in the game and not really being the best person at it. And they're not generating any skill. But I mean, I'll add a layer to that. When we're at the point where our society says you can be rich and famous for being good at playing a video game, we are entering the point where we are eliminating true labor from the capitalist market. People are famous now for just posting pictures of themselves on Instagram. People are making money by posting pictures on Instagram. That money is then used to travel the world and do whatever they want. If that's the case, you don't have to do work anymore. That's not work. We're calling it work. It's something. I mean, it's not easy to make a living. You're still doing some work, but I'm going to be honest. It is this job that I do here 1,000,000-fold easier than tilling a field and growing crops. That's why I'm here. Because I don't want, like, if it was easier to grow crops and work a farm, I'd be doing that. But this is easier. So we're really getting to the point where sitting around complaining on the internet is more lucrative and easier, and we call it work.
Most of the people posting pictures for money, aren't they doing it as advertisements?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a job.
You're doing it
to
get eyeballs, to attract influence, and then sell a product of some sort. And then people, so there's a large portion of the economy that's turning into it's the influencer economy. It's an information economy.
But that is also, I mean, I think that we've seen a lot of people who have done that and become very self-obsessed, self-important. So then once that starts to fade, when the likes aren't coming, then that is also a depressed society. I mean,
Then they plug themselves into the Neuralink and they go back to the world where everyone loves them.
Or like, if you're not the beautiful influencer forever, like, have you lost value?
Gosh, I come from the world of a steel foundry, which is a very hard labor job. You are making product, and there's just so much pride in that. You make a product, it does things, it goes out into the world, it makes trucks move, it makes tractors move, it makes people, people are able to get products because of that. I mean, how can that go away?
People grew up making things that makes them feel good. They were taught, they looked up to their parents, they looked up to the prominent members of their society who are doing these things, and it makes them feel good to fit in. But now to fit in, you got to get followers on social media. So they did that. We talked about this poll where they asked American kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And most of them said, like a YouTuber. I think it was YouTuber, right? Chinese kids were asked, they said astronaut. What does being a YouTuber mean? For me, it means complaining on the internet. I think there's value in it because we're fighting a culture war. We're trying to keep people focused on the foundations of this country and what it means to make a system function. But at the same time, I'm like, how do I make more money than a dude who actually builds houses? That's crazy to me. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.